And now, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Steve Sussman, Director of Sales Engineering at Atempo. Take it away, Steve.
Thank you, Janet. Good morning, everybody. Now, let's go over a brief outline of what we're going to discuss today. We're going to talk just in real brief about Windows 7 and Mac OS X Snow Leopard. And we'll review the dangers of upgrading without a data protection strategy in place. And we'll present a safe upgrade process that allows you to move forward and protect your data. And we'll examine some of the key features you'll need in a product. And we'll talk about Atempo Live Backup, and we'll go into a demonstration of Live Backup running on Windows 7. So Windows 7, I pulled these bullets right from Microsoft's on-site. So they're talking about performance, stability, and security as key changes in Windows 7. If you've run it, perhaps you agree. There are complex migration strategies for Windows 7 depending on which operating system you are coming from. Now, the easiest one is if you're coming from Windows Vista, in which case you can upgrade it in place. And this is actually what I did. It took about 2 hours. So it runs a little long, but it works. And the nice part about doing that is all your applications and all your settings and all your data are preserved. Now, if you don't happen to be running Windows Vista and you're running Windows XP, which is probably a lot more common, then your upgrade strategy is going to be a little different because you're only going to have the ability to migrate data and settings from Windows XP to Windows 7, and you're going to have to do essentially a fresh install. And that means that the most common upgrade scenario is going to be having Windows 7 on new hardware. So what we're seeing is that a lot of Windows 7 rollouts are tied to new hardware rollouts. So people are getting new laptops and they're getting Windows 7 on them. And then the challenge becomes to pick up your old data and move it to your new PC without interrupting workflow. Now, of course, there will be a few who upgrade on existing hardware. And again, if it's from Windows Vista, it's a simple process. If it's from Windows XP, again, you're going to have to install from scratch. So what about Mac OS Snow Leopard? Well, surprise, Apple talked about almost exactly the same things: performance, reliability, talk about increased automation. I got a kick out of one of their big features that they talk about on their website is automatically setting your time zone. It's nice how Apple focuses on the small things, but they add up to big things. Now, the migration path is much simpler with OS X because anybody with a supported machine is going to end up upgrading to Snow Leopard, if not right away at some point. And of course, this means that all the applications and all the data is still preserved. Your only problem with that will be with machines that are PowerPC based, in which case you'll have to do new hardware upgrade. But most will be existing machines. So the upgrade scenario is going to be a little different, but the challenges are still going to be quite similar. Regardless of the platform and regardless of the strategy you're going to use, any sort of platform migration poses dangers to your data. Many of the threats to your existing data are no different from the ones that you would experience in the day-to-day, except that it's just more likely that they're going to happen. So accidental deletion would be the most obvious thing, that you blow away some things and then realize after the fact that you forgot to save them or put them in whatever safe place you're going to keep it so you can migrate them later. Right? But it could also be end users doing exactly the same thing, thinking they should delete their data before they turn in their machines. Right? You could physically lose things. I mean, having new machines and old machines in the same room and transferring things around, this can be chaos. So it's pretty easy to lose track of something and things can just disappear. And during any upgrade process, there's always the danger of losing passwords or having corrupt data or just not migrating the data that you think you're going to be migrating. Any of these things can cause you to lose data. Right? And there are clear risks associated, right, in proceeding without a strategy to mitigate those problems. Right? The most obvious would be loss of productivity. If people are sitting around waiting for their data, they're not working. Right? And this poses a threat to continuity of business. So imagine you have, high-value deals pending in the pipeline, and everything has to halt while people get their project papers together because, they're flung across, some hard drive. Ever-present threat of just losing intellectual property, right? And this can happen during a migration. It can also happen, if you have let's call it workplace volatility, people moving in and out of departments, maybe changing positions, maybe changing jobs, maybe there's a workforce reduction. These are all opportunities for data to either deliberately or accidentally disappear. So what are the critical steps in a safe upgrade?